Did I just crack YouTube? Did I? Do you see the lamp? Did you see it? Do you see me? Greasy bastard. Hi, hello, did I just nail YouTube? Is this how it's done? Am I close enough up? Is this out of focus? Or am I doing everything wrong again? Is the sound okay? I don't know. Okay. Hi, do you feel lost? Because you might as well have been found. This will not pass as an intro, this will not pass. Do you ever, like, once you take caffeine, you kind of have like hits and lows, and sometimes you're just in the middle of nowhere, you know, you're like walking down the street and then you suddenly start sprinting? No? Silly you. Today we're not here to talk about caffeine though. We are here to yet again talk about a story I covered on the pod, link below, humble self-promo, shameless as fuck. We're to talk about the British writer Agatha Christie, born in 1870, no, born in 1890, died in 1976. I think, check Wikipedia if I'm wrong, you know, I could be, I don't know years, I suck at history. You know what? I always suck at fucking dates at history. And then people would be like, oh, what about your birthday? My birthday is precious, okay? They're like, so why don't you know Hitler's birthday? 'Cause it's fucking Hitler. We know too much information about that dude anyways. It's like, I understand battles or like Liberation Day or some weird shit like that. But seriously, Hitler's birthday? He had too much fucking acknowledgements anyways. The screaming child in the street, Agatha Christie. Let's do this. She published 66 novels. Let's all agree, The Murder on the Orient Express, her fucking most overrated book of all times of hers, then made into a movie just to ruin it even completely more. The Good Stuff is like ABC Murders, and then there were none, like stuff that she does were based on like different rhymes, or you know, that was kind of the pattern for a time. Those like, that was really good period. Nailed those. She also had the longest running play, that was The Mousetrap. She had only 2 detectives in her novels, if I'm not mistaken, because like 90% of them that I read was Hercule Poirot. I can't pronounce French words, I can't. This is why I can't voice her books, okay? This is why I direct you to Phoebe Reads a Mystery, the podcast, where you can listen to Phoebe Judge read her books in nice, little composed, non-caffeinated voice. Why did I hit myself up with so much coffee today? She had the longest running play, The Mousetrap, still showing. I don't know, COVID opening hours, check that out. And she broke the Guinness World Record with by being the best-selling author with over 2 billion copies of her books sold. Now, this is not a story about Agatha Christie. Technically, it is a story solely about Agatha Christie, but it's a story about her disappearance in 1926, when she just vanished into the thin air for 11 days. And to this day, this still remains unsolved. One of my favorite things to do is to tell you my opinion on these unsolved mysteries. That's it. So on 14th of December 1926, she just magically reappeared in this hotel/spa in Harrogate. Well, actually she was recognized there. She didn't apparently know why she was there. So she was just at this desk, you know, reading newspapers, apparently not noticing that her face is the main page, that her face is the front page news. Not noticing that everybody kind of looks at her like she's a celebrity. During her stay at this elegant hotel in Harrogate, she was kind of just enjoying the events. You know how those hotels have like dances every night, entertainment during the day, until one day she was recognized by a banjo player, Bob Tappin. And he knew that the whole world is looking for Agatha Christie, so he alerted her husband, Colonel Archie. Now, the reason why nobody else in the hotel alerted her husband or the police is, well, A, they didn't recognize her, but B, she signed in. This is a weird thing. She checked in under the wrong name, which was Teresa Neal. This is gonna become important. Notice she done, okay? Your life depends on it. Her husband, Colonel Archie, appears in this hotel. He's like, okay, cool, let me go see what the hell, pick up my wife in it. So he goes down to Yorkshire and he just sits at like the opposite table and sort of just like observing her, and she does not seem to even to be phased. And then he approaches her table and she doesn't seem to recognize him at all. So that's an awkward moment because they've been married for about 12 years. Random piece of info, because again I set this camera the wrong way. I have a rooster on my shirt. Look at my rooster. Irrelevant. Completely irrelevant to anything in this story. But look at my rooster. So in this video we're going to discuss about 3 theories, I think, if I remember right. So one is the loss of memory, because prior to her ending in Harrogate Hotel / Spa, she has had a car accident. Well, she has hit her head against the wheel. Another theory is that this is just a publicized stunt, which resulted in her selling a lot more books. Because back in the day, back in 26, Agatha only published a couple of books before this disappearance, and she wasn't really big at the time. So this kind of really boosted her book sale. And well, the third theory isn't really discussed. You could really say it's more of a conspiracy theory / only my opinion, you know. And that is that she just got away on her own accord as her fuck you moment to her life and her husband. But yeah, let's discuss all of them. So when it comes to the public, they of course want to believe the most publicity stunt one. But that theory in itself just doesn't have enough facts to support it. And they couldn't tell you, as they could today, how many books she has sold due to this compared to, you know, how many books she has sold before. However, this was still the typewriter time, okay? This is what we're on about. This is why not. But people want their drama. The memory loss would be probably the most plausible and also the most popular one, because it has the most facts supporting it, let's say. Agatha actually only mentioned this and sort of the reasons, although it wasn't really the reasons, it was the memory loss, in one of her interviews in 1928. What she said is that she was driving, then her car struck against something, then, you know, her head swung towards the steering wheel, she hit the steering wheel, and up until that moment she was Mrs. Christie. This was a theory that's also supported by psychologists, psychiatrists as such, because they say that this kind of accident would induce a psychogenic state, which is like the state of stress, which is this out-of-body state which is caused by stress. So whether it is stress due to work or whether it is actually like stress due to like the physical incident that you have had. However, none of these 2 theories explain one big thing. Why use the name Teresa Neal? You remember how I said it was important? Well, guess what? Her husband, Archibald, call him Archie, but let's call him Archibald just because it's a name, it's his name. He had a mistress whose last name was Neal. The drama intensifies. I used to do this in high school. It used to freak people out, and it used to get the kids and it used to get the boys that were sitting in front of me in chemistry class in so much shit. I'm like, what are you doing? What are these sounds? It was just me in the back like a fucking freak. This should definitely be my outro. Also, I'm pretty aware that this is the most disgusting face that you will ever see. Continuing with the story. Note to self, never drink coffee and then record like straight after once it fucking hits your brain. Now, before me trying to sell you this brilliant theory of mine, unprecedented, never mentioned by anybody else. Oh. Let's discuss her actual disappearance, the Nighthawk, and how that all came about. To understand it, better for me to give you some evidence, okay? So in 1926, before that night, everything seemed to be going fine. You know, appearances can lie to you. Archie and Agatha had their daughter called Rosalind, and they moved into this mansion of Styles, hence the mysterious affair at Styles. Her first novel, well, they named the mansion. It's not like the mansion was already named. Anyways. So she continued her career as a writer. Archibald was an investment banker. Boring ass job, doesn't matter. Soon after they moved, so just like a couple of years before her disappearance, Agatha's mom has passed away. And during that process of grief, Archibald decides on his daughter's birthday, by the way, to go to Agatha and be like, oh yeah, I want a divorce. Read the room, Archibald. No, that's totally not yet another trigger. It's your daughter's birthday. Your wife's died, your wife's mom died. No, cool, great timing, Archibald. It's not like he hasn't read the room already. He's like, I want a divorce because I have been having an affair with this woman that's called Nancy Neal. Archibald. Just imagine how much different this would be in the era of the internet. Like somebody would just immediately Google mistress. First rule. Not giving advice or cheating, but first rule is don't reveal the name of the mistress. Like, what's next? Reveal her date of birth? Yeah, just help me like fucking find her Facebook profile. Address? Please help a girl out. So Agatha decides to like put that aside, be like, I want to work on this marriage, let's move on, let's continue. Also shut the fuck up because it's my daughter's birthday. Stop ruining this vibe. Archibald. Instead, Archibald is like, okay, cool, you want to work on our marriage? I don't. He continues seeing his mistress and going to dinner parties. You know how it be in the 20s, you know, those wild ass fucking parties until the morning while the wife is at home looking after the child. Yeah, those. So, on December the 3rd, 11 days before they found her, which you know is the night of the motherfucking disappearance, because you're great at math. This is the weirdest video. I'm gonna get cancelled. I'm gonna get cancelled and I haven't even started. Archibald goes to one of his dinner parties where we all know he's gonna go with his mistress because genius. I wanted to say because Handmaid's Tale. Well, now Agatha puts Rosalind to bed and she writes 2 letters. One to her secretary to like cancel all of her weekend plans and the other one to Archie. And she packs like a small bookcase and she sets off. And the police would find the car that she set off in the next morning just by the query with like her driver's license and her clothes in there. So the investigators go obviously to the Styles mansion. They have to interview everybody. They interview the secretary and the secretary says, yeah, this is the letter, you know, she just said cancel my weekend plans. They ask Archie what happened to his letter and he says, oh yeah, she wrote me a letter but I don't want to reveal its contents. Sounds legit, and they're like, chill, that's cool. They don't press the issue further. Great stuff. Also, what came up in this investigation is that she also wrote a letter to her brother-in-law, so like Archie's brother, and that letter was destroyed by him, and they never questioned this. It's like, no, this family is perfect, everything they say is gold, let's not put pressure on that at all. Because that car and the quarry and that area is the only thing they have to go on, because apparently they fled the family, they like cleared out the husband and everybody else is a suspect. They dug this pond but they find nothing. Police had a couple of witnesses obviously. One said that he has helped Agatha with the car because she was apparently struggling to, well, set it up again to get going, you know, set up the engine, something along those lines. And they said that then they saw her driving like the opposite direction of where the accident happened. And then another witness said that they have seen her on the train to Harrogate and that she just looked completely disoriented, like she was phased out, she did not understand where she is, where she's going. Of course, none of these pan out. Also, there was this source that said that there was like a bottle of poison that was named poison, lead and opium, in the back seat that they have found in the car. This is the least plausible thing, because Agatha also used to work as kind of like a nurse or like help of that kind in the military, so she wouldn't have just named poison poison, you know what I mean? Smarter than that, right? She writes fucking detective novels. So a couple of days in, the police is desperate, right? This is a famous case, famous writer, he has made the headlines all over the world. They have no fucking clue what's happening and they're neglecting the obvious suspects. It's great. It's chill life. So they kind of, well, ask whoever wants to help is welcome to help. And remember Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the guy behind Sherlock Holmes? Love Sherlock Holmes, by the way, but this guy was just weird. It's kind of like almost his personality almost matches Sherlock's equally. So he's like, leave it with me, let me help out. He takes one of Agatha's gloves and brings it to like an oculist, and he's like, yeah, tell me where she is, because they can sense the glove. Something, maybe it can work if it was like a psychic and shit, but nothing pans out of this. He just wanted the headline in this story, he just wanted to be mentioned. The police was called off because her brother-in-law, so Archibald's bro, okay? He received a letter that said that Agatha, he received a letter from Agatha that said that she's at a Yorkshire spa just resting and taking a break. So they go to check this letter out, you know, see if it's in her handwriting, all that jazz. And her brother-in-law is just like, I just destroyed it, you know, just put this fire. Just, you know, had this fire in the fireplace and it's got burnt, just dropped it. I'm exaggerating, but he was just like, I just destroyed the letter. The only clue, you just destroyed it. Great stuff. Now this is when the media, of course, because it's too silent, nothing is really happening after this third day, and after Sir Arthur Conan Doyle took her glove and did this weird thing, so the media just takes the wheel and they just spread like this different information. One of my favorite things is this article where they say she has been seen disguised, and it's just like the disguises are just so bad. They just put like a wig. It's just the editing skills were life. They just put like a wig on her, and then like one of them is like kind of shaded, as if you were to shade like half of the face, so she kind of looks like more manly, something along those lines. It's just like, media is really great. I studied journalism, I understand. What the fuck are you doing? Why did they study this? But as we know, nothing pans out until 11 days later on December 14th, where somebody is like, that's fucking Agatha Christie, somebody called her husband, or not, because they clearly love each other very much. By the way, quick fact, they actually divorced after this event. She only needed to disappear for 11 days to, you know, knock herself out in the head to realize she doesn't want to fucking work on their marriage with Archibald, and they both remarried within 2 years and lived happily ever after. I hate that phrase. Why am I using this phrase? Let's discuss a bit of a background on this marriage / why it didn't work out, and, you know, on her childhood in general. Triggers, and then my theory. So Agatha was born in 1819, Torquay in Devon, which, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of like south west of England. I think so. I'll put a map up. I don't know shit. Imagine me in geography. What's next? History, geography. What's next? God. Literally nobody, literally. She was the youngest of 3 children, and during her childhood she kind of used to like have these imaginary friends, and well, just immediately have like a lot of imagination. So she would have like these imaginary people who she tells stories to. It was pre-YouTube, okay? Her parents were actually busy socialites, so she was homeschooled, but she kind of had to grow up pretty quickly out of this phase of like imaginary friends telling stories, because her dad actually died when she was only 11 years old, and she herself has said that this has marked the end to her childhood. Like, so after her dad's death she would write poems, and then sort of started off her writing career, and in 1912 she met Archie, who was a pilot at the time. Okay, Wikipedia or wherever the fuck I read this, you made a mistake. Hermione Granger in this situation again. They put, like, during the Second World War, this was the First World War, god damn it. So she volunteered as a nurse, and this is how her and Archie met. And this is also where she learned about poisons. So, you know, like, if you read a couple of her books, poisons are quite prevalent as, like, the method of killing. Wow, how females kill. Guide by Agatha Christie. Cool. So kind of speeding up through it, after she volunteered as a nurse, she worked at the University College Hospital, where again she kind of just enhanced this knowledge of toxins. They then rented a flat in St. John's Wood, which is like, which is the northwest in London. It's this posh kind of area, but has nothing much in it. There's a couple of good cafes in there, but yeah, not much in there. Great, irrelevant information. In 1920 she publishes The Mysterious Affair at Styles. She goes on this world tour, but the book that sort of made her known was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Good one, by the way, read that one. Don't read the most popular ones. In April of 1926, so only a few months before her disappearance, her mom dies of arthritis. So this sent Agatha into serious depression, and she was just depressed. And then her Archibald just came up being like, I've been cheating on you on her daughter's birthday. But one other thing that works with my theory is that in late summer 1926, so that year after her mom's death, she actually already retreated sort of to deal with it. So that was kind of like public knowledge. She went to this like outskirts, to this village, to just like have a break from writing from everybody and just retreat and deal with her depression. And then August, Archibald is like, I want a divorce, Nancy Neal, blah blah blah. And we speed up to December, she disappears. If you remember, my theory was that she has left on her own accord as a fuck you husband. Let's see how you deal with this fucking mess while I live my life, and you know, if it works towards my book sales, even better. It was her self-love disappearance, okay? Some people would go and repay to her husband by like cheating on them, be like eye for an eye. She was like, can do better. What goes towards my theory? Okay, Teresa Neal. Why that name, if not for a fuck you moment? Out of every, you're gonna tell me, she kicked her head against the steering wheel, went onto the train, went to check in into this place where apparently her and Archie also used to go, so she knew of this spa, so she kind of knew where to go even though she was disorientated. Cool, okay, can buy all of that. You're telling me out of all the last names like Smith, Brown, like all of the common names, Neal is the one that popped into her head? Another thing that works into this theory is the way that she moved away from it, because she just never mentioned it in her autobiography, anywhere in any of the interviews that she has given. So how has she suddenly just not gotten to the bottom of this theory completely, unless she doesn't want to because she knows the answer. Oh, another one that plays really well with the amnesia theory, but also with mine, is the fact that she just kind of left her daughter behind. So, if we are to believe this theory, then obviously she knew she was going to return, she knew somebody was to recognize her one day, so she technically isn't leaving her daughter behind because she will return. But the most damning for me is, as I have read probably 10 or even 20 maybe plus of her books, is that her books always have a resolution. There's always like, okay, this is the whodunit, and then we discuss the motives, and people just move on with their life from then on, but they don't move on with their life until they have died. So I find it really hard to believe that with her own life, Agatha was just like, it's chill, not knowing all of this, it's totally fine, I'm just gonna move on. Also, another important bit is, if she was to have had amnesia, that would really need to be super temporal amnesia, let's say, because she continued writing, she published books like the very next year. So you're telling me this detective novel writer, right, has disappeared for 11 days, had amnesia, but then suddenly immediately snapped into all of her traits, went back onto the writing and just continued with her life like nothing fucking happened. Suspicious as fuck. Because really nothing will convince me that Agatha just could move on without having the answer to her own story while being this mystery writer for years, decades, and just like having to know and have the answers to all of these imaginary stories. But no, her own actual true crime story still remains unsolved. Well, there are a couple of things obviously that still remain unsolved and probably always fucking will, because this was in 1926, that would have solved this mystery. So the letters, what the hell was the content of those letters that have been destroyed? Archibald. The car and what actually happened, was it an accident or not? Obviously how she ended on the train, how did she even buy the ticket for the train then, and why did she go to the Yorkshire Spa? Why was she like all happy, dancing? Another thing that goes into this theory, okay, another thing that just like boggles my fucking brain. So you know how I said, like, even if she had amnesia, 11 days, cool, great, temporary amnesia, she went immediately back to writing, right? Cool. Even if you were to have amnesia, and like, if your personality trait is, even if it wasn't, even if you weren't like a mystery writer and your personality trait isn't to be this like inquisitory person who is like into mysteries, into like why things are happening. If you found yourself in a random ass spa hotel, wouldn't you be like, why the fuck am I here? Am I here by myself? Who am I? Why did I just use this name? Can somebody tell me where to go, what to do, like, where's my family? Why am I here by myself? Wouldn't you question that for 11 days? No? Suspicious as fuck. But yeah, that is clearly my theory only, and you might have yours, so drop them down below. And let's solve this shit, right? As always, at the fuck I have a flight. And as always, let's solve this shit that has been unsolved for a century. What? A century. A bit less than a century, God. Whoa, okay. This is good enough. I need to decaffeinate. But yeah, apart from that, you know, like, review and subscribe. Especially subscribe. I really would appreciate if you were to subscribe or like share with your friends. And if you like this caffeinated content, super easy for me. Super, no effort. No effort. Just a couple of coffees. Works like a charm. But yeah, nothing else to tell you. Nothing else to say. So, bye guys. Bye. Bye.